There was a time when people didn't need labels. To understand food, they didn't count calories. They didn't read ingredients. They observed, they listened, they learned. From experience, and over time, those observations became habits, small actions, repeated every day, that quietly supported the body. But somewhere along the way, those habits were lost, replaced by speed, convenience, shortcuts, and now, we eat more healthy food than ever before. Yet something feels off, because it's not always about what you eat. It's about how you use it. And today, you're about to see something most people never notice. 20 everyday foods that can either support your body or quietly work against it, depending on one small detail. Once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. ITEM1 GAR, a life skill long before modern medicine. Garlic was trusted not because people understood its chemistry, but because they saw its effects. It protected, it strengthened, it healed, and that trust lasted for centuries. But today, that same garlic often loses its power before it even reaches your plate because of one simple habit. Most people crush garlic and immediately cook it. It feels natural, efficient, correct. But inside garlic, something important has just begun. A transformation, a compound waiting to become something else. When garlic is crushed, an enzyme is released, and it begins turning one compound into another, something more active, more powerful. But that transformation needs time and heat, stops it before it finishes. So what you end up eating looks like garlic, but doesn't carry the same potential. The difference? Just a pause. 10 minutes. A small moment. That allows something invisible to fully form, and once it does, everything changes. Same ingredient, different result. And once you understand that, you begin to see a pattern, because the next thing is something millions of people drink every morning without ever questioning how. Item 2, green tea. There's something calming about tea. The warmth, the stillness, the pause. In many cultures, it was never rushed. It was prepared carefully because people understood that how you prepare something changes what it gives you. But today, that patience is gone. Boiling water, quick pour, done. And yet, something subtle is lost in that process. Inside green tea are delicate compounds. They're not designed for extremes. They respond to balance, to gentleness. And when exposed to high temperatures, they begin to break down quietly without any visible sign. So what you drink, it still looks like tea, but it's not the same. And most people never notice, but once you do, you slow down. You let the water cool, because sometimes less intensity creates more value, and the next one is something that seems pure, but changes the moment it meets heat. Item 3. Item 3, Achone. Why do we hear ancient untouched? For centuries, it was used not just for sweetness, but for healing. But even something this natural has its limits, especially when it comes to heat. Because inside honey are living elements, enzymes, compounds, structures that are easily changed, and when exposed to high temperatures, they begin to fade. Not instantly, not dramatically, but enough to change what honey truly offers. So when it's added to something too hot, it doesn't lose its sweetness, but it loses something deeper, something you can't taste, only feel. Over time, so the solution isn't complicated. Just wait, let things cool, because timing matters more than we think. And once you notice timing, you begin to see it everywhere, especially in something as simple as how long you cook a vegetable. Item 4, BROCCOL. A broccoli is often called a superfood, symbol of health. But symbols can be misleading, because what matters isn't what a food contains, it's what your body can access. Inside broccoli, there's a compound linked to protection, but it doesn't exist until something activates it. And that activation depends on an enzyme, a fragile one that doesn't survive extreme heat. So when broccoli is boiled aggressively, something important disappears, not visibly, but functionally. So what remains isn't the same. The shift is simple. Less heat, more control, and sometimes a short pause before cooking changes everything. Same vegetable, different outcome. And this idea that preparation defines value continues again with something even more common. Item 5, turmr, isoturmeric, is everywhere. It's seen as powerful, almost magical, but power alone isn't enough because the body has to recognize it and absorb it. And here's the truth most people miss. On its own, turmeric struggles to be absorbed, meaning most of what you consume passes through unnoticed. But add one thing, and everything changes. Black pepper, it doesn't look significant, but it transforms the interaction. Suddenly, absorption increases, and if you add fat, the effect becomes even stronger. So what once had little impact becomes something your body can actually use. Same spice, different potential. And the next one completely challenges the idea that raw is always better. Item 6, POMATOS. Raw feels natural, untouched, so we assume it must be better. But tomatoes tell a different story inside them. Is something powerful, but locked, hidden within their structure, and your body can only access part of it until heat changes everything. When tomatoes are cooked, their structure softens, and what was once hidden becomes available, more accessible, more usable, especially when combined with fat. So in this case, cooking isn't a loss, it's a transformation. And once you understand that, you begin to question everything, including the way you eat something as small as seeds. Item 7, flax seeds. Flax seeds are tiny, easy to overlook, but inside, they hold a surprising amount of value. Healthy fats, fiber, compounds. Your body can use, but there's a problem. A barrier, a shell, designed to protect what's inside. And that protection works too well because your body can't easily break it. So many of those nutrients pass through untouched, not because they aren't there, but because they were never accessed. The solution: break the barrier. Grinding changes everything, unlocks what was hidden, and suddenly, something small becomes powerful, and the next one is something millions rely on, but use at the wrong moment. Item 8, CIOFFI, feels like energy, a reset, a way to begin the day, but your body already has its own system, a natural rhythm, one that wakes you up without needing anything external. And when coffee is added too early, it interferes. Not dramatically, but enough to shift the balance. Over time, that shift becomes dependence. So instead of working with your body, you work against it. The adjustment is simple. Let your body wake itself first, then add coffee. And the effect becomes cleaner, more aligned. And the next one is something so simple, people rarely question it. Item 9, APPLS. Apples are familiar every day. So familiar, we stop thinking about them. And that's where the mistake happens. Because most people remove the skin without realizing. That's where much of the value is. Fiber, compounds, protection, all concentrated on the outside. So when it's removed, something important is lost. The change is simple. Keep it, because sometimes the part we ignore is the part that matters most. And the next one loses its strength the longer you cook it. Item 10, GINGR. Ginger carries warmth, depth, a long history of use. But like many natural compounds, it's sensitive, especially to time and heat. The longer it's exposed, the more it changes. And in that change, something is reduced, So while it still adds flavor, it doesn't offer the same support, the adjustment, less time, or use it fresh. And once again, a small shift creates a different result. Item 11, SPA, Has Panache. Has. Always been associated with strength green, fresh, full of life. It looks like something your body would easily accept, but what you see is only part of the story, because inside spinach, there are compounds that hold on to minerals tightly, almost protectively. So when you eat it raw, you're not just consuming nutrients, you're also consuming barriers that prevent your body from fully absorbing what's there. So what feels like a healthy choice becomes a partial one. But something interesting happens. When heat is introduced, not too much, just enough, those compounds begin to loosen, release their grip, and suddenly, what was once locked becomes available. Same spinach, different experience inside your body. And that idea, that nutrients need to be unlocked, continues with something bright, sweet, and often underestimated. Item 12. CAR, Rhodos carrots are simple, bright, crunchy, familiar. They've always been linked to vision, to clarity. But what most people don't realize is that the body doesn't automatically access that benefit, because inside carrots, there's a compound that needs help. It's not enough to eat it. Your body has to absorb it, and absorption depends on context. Specifically, fat without it. Much of that potential passes through, unused, but introduce even a small amount, and everything changes. Suddenly, what was limited becomes accessible. So it's not about eating more carrots, it's about how you eat them. And that same principle applies to something people snack on every day, thinking it's already perfect. 1-3 unused nuts feel complete, natural, dense, satisfying, like something that doesn't need to be changed, but nature often protects what's valuable, and in nuts, that protection comes in the form of compounds that block absorption not because they're harmful, but because they were never meant to be eaten immediately. They were meant to wait, to go through time, moisture change, and when we skip that process, we consume them in a state that limits what we receive, but introduce water and time, and something shifts. The structure softens, barriers reduce, and nutrients become more available. So something as simple as soaking transforms the experience. And once you see that, you start to question even the most basic habits, like something you eat almost every day, without thinking twice. Item 14. RICRS is one of the most consumed foods in the world. Simple, reliable, but simplicity can hide overlooked details. Because rice carries more than just energy. It also carries residues, dust, starch, and sometimes things you don't see when it's cooked without preparation. Those elements stay, affecting not just taste, but how your body processes it. But one small action changes everything. Washing not once, but thoroughly, until the water runs clear, and suddenly, something heavy becomes lighter, easier to digest, cleaner. And that same idea of removing what doesn't belong applies to something people often prepare the opposite way. Item 15. Potatoes are comfort, warm, filling, familiar, but how they're prepared changes everything. When exposed to high heat, especially in oil, their structure changes deeply, not just on the surface, but in ways that affect how your body responds. So, what feels satisfying can also be more demanding, heavier, but shift the method. Boil that steam and the experience becomes different, lighter, more stable. Same potato, different impact, and that difference continues with something people often add without thinking. Item 16, lemon lemon feels refreshing, clean, alive, often associated with vitality, But like many natural sources of nutrients, it's sensitive, especially to heat, because what gives lemon its value is easily changed. And when exposed to high temperatures, something begins to fade quietly. So when lemon is added too early into something hot, it loses part of what made it special. The shift is simple. Add it later. Preserve what matters, because timing is everything, and nowhere is timing more misunderstood than in something people eat daily, thinking it's already perfect. Item 17, yogurt is alive, not visibly, but internally. It carries something active, something that interacts with your body. But that interaction depends on timing. When consumed at the wrong moment, its effect changes, digestion shifts, balance shifts, and something that should support you becomes less effective. But align it with your body's rhythm, and it works with you, not against you. And that idea that even small timing changes matter continues with something incredibly common. Item 18, eggs are simple, complete, one of the most balanced foods available. But balance is fragile, especially under heat. Cook them too long, and something begins to break down. Textures change, structures shift, and with it, some of their value. So, while they still look the same, they're not the same. The difference: control, gentle cooking, precision, because sometimes less is more. And that idea continues with something people prepare every morning. Item 19. Oh, oats oats feel healthy, comforting, a good start to the day. But like many grains, they carry natural defenses, compounds that limit absorption. Not harmful, but restrictive. And when eaten without preparation, those restrictions remain, but introduce time, moisture, and everything changes. Soaking breaks those barriers, allows your body to access more, so what seems like a small step becomes a meaningful difference. And finally, we arrive at something so basic, most people never question it. Item 20, water is essential. Simple, obvious, but even something this fundamental has a rhythm, and when consumed too quickly, that rhythm is disrupted. Your body reacts differently. Absorption changes, balance shifts, but slow it down, and everything aligns. Your body receives it the way it was meant to. And that's the pattern you've seen throughout this entire journey. Not complexity, but awareness. Here's the truth. Nothing you saw today was complicated. No extreme diets, no rare ingredients, just small details, hidden in plain sight, and yet those small details change everything. Because your body has never been confused. It responds to how things are done, not just what is done. So now, you have a choice. Keep following habits without questioning them, or start noticing what actually matters. Tell me, which one surprised you the most? And which one will you actually change? Because knowledge means nothing without action. And if you want more, subscribe, because the next video might change your health completely.